Hey guys, it is a beautiful day here at Scalp Logic, and we have Joe, the mad scientist right now, has a little laboratory going on. He is creating the 2 needle for you guys.
The 2 needle.
The 2 needle.
I like that.
That sounds
I like
funny,
that.
the 2 needle.
So yeah, I mean, the talk is the single needle versus the 3 needle. It's been the talk in my industry forever. I'm taking it back to 2009, 2010 when I started. Back in those days, guys, I'll show you when I'm going to recreate something like this right now. I don't know any of you SMP artists out there. Probably about, I don't know, what's it, 2021? About 2015-ish. Cartridges became a thing. So these are just old school. So I'm bringing it back as how we used to make our needles ourselves. Just to show you a reference, this is a commercially purchased tattoo needle. And again, those cartridges, even if you don't know anything about tattooing, you probably know what I'm saying when I say the cartridges, the needle cartridges. These are the old school. You put these on one of those big coil machines, and you get the loud sound. We've come a long way since, but I want to show you just a couple of really cool tidbits of experience that I learned that I used to implement, and I think it'll give a lot of insight in the industry. So let's just get started right now. So I'm not going to break it all down. I can go more into detail. We do offer training, and if anyone that takes our training wants to know more about how to make needles yourself, I'm happy to tell you, some of the products I use and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to go into that on this video. I'm just going to show you how I made the needles. So we're going to start with some needle pins, which I don't know how close you can see right here. We have them soaked in some flux, okay? And so I'm just going to put a little more on there. Essentially, back in the day, we're trying to figure out how do we make an impression the size of a hair follicle. And so I bought all these different, if you see these little pins, they come in, so many different variations. And so I'm using a particular, I don't know if these are number 6s or number 9s. They're very similar in size, but that's what we used to use. So I'm showing you exactly what I used to do back in 2010 for many years until I could buy needle cartridges. So it's been a while, bear with me. So now I'm taking these pins and I fluxed together so they're sticking together, right? 2 pins. Now again, we're talking about single needle, so I use just 1 pin is what I use, currently now, 2021. But I'm gonna show you a 2 needle, which is, I don't even know, is that unheard of? That's unheard of to you, Nicole, we'll check.
It's not common.
Essentially, it's a single needle and a 3 needle is what everyone's using. We're doing the 2 needle. We've always
like an in-between.
Yeah. This is something I picked up along the way, experimenting through the days. And so what I'm doing now is I'm trying to group those 2 pins together into the jig, and I'm getting them to stick tightly. And hopefully you can see up close how they flail out of the way. So in a second, you're gonna see me solder them together, okay?
That is so cool.
Give me a moment. Like I said, in a little bit. But I'm just going to apply a little more flux because this flux almost acts like a glue for the solder. All right. And any tattoo needle makers out there, I'm just showing a demo, right? I'm not gonna use these on anybody, so please go easy on me.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, on the lack of gloves and all that kind of stuff. I get it. All right, so I'm gonna load my solder gun up here with a little bit of solder. Give it a second. I mean, that's cool by itself, right? It brings it back. And now I'm gonna get these guys to stay together closely. You know what? Let's just let's keep it rolling. I'm gonna start. This is cool to see. Actually, I made a mistake. Essentially, this one didn't work out too well, and again, it's bringing me back to my days. I actually had 2 different jigs when I used to make them. So I'd have 1 jig to tighten the whole grouping, and then this is the tightening jig where I'd get it really fine-tuned. So I'm trying to just use the fine-tuned tightening jig to do it all. But anyway, Nicole and I had a conversation. Nicole, I'll let you kick it off while I'm kind of. So I'm just gonna try another one while we're talking about other stuff. I'm just gonna take another set of 2 pins and put them into this jig here and get them going with the solder. So I'm gonna put that to the side. Cool. And Nicole, talk to me.
Yeah. So you started off in 2009, 2010. You got it done in 2009, and when you started learning, you learned with the 3 needle. Is that correct?
I learned with these needles that you're seeing right here.
Okay.
And yeah, we were making a 3 needle ourselves.
Okay.
And exactly like this. Instead of 2 pins I'm making for this video, we were making 3 pins.
Okay. So how quickly did you identify, being very honest, how quickly did you identify that the 3 was just not necessarily going to cut it for the type of work that you wanted to be putting out into the world?
How long did I identify? Well, it's 2021, and 90% of the industry still uses the 3 needle.
Yes.
So I still go back and forth, to be quite honest, with my confidence. But I had a good feeling that the single needle was the way to go, even though it was harder, it took more hours. A lot of artists, we'll go into that. It was like USA versus the UK. People tell me why I shouldn't use a single needle, and here I am today in 2021 saying single needle or bust, because the spotlight challenge, in other words, a lot of guys look good on the internet, a lot of pictures look good on the internet, the standards are raising.
Exactly.
I see, but I'm talking about even the biggest companies in the world, you're not seeing these healed results.
No.
And that's what I mean by the flashlight challenge. Is everyone, I'm happy to see, you're not going to catch me on YouTube with my new result that I've had now for coming up on 2 years with a blob of ink, or dots that are too big in any area. And I ask you to check anyone else out there. I just know firsthand, most people have ink blotches and all that kind of stuff. So the standards have come a long way. But anyway, I'm more confident than ever. Sorry, that was a long way to get to.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. How many times did you have to do needles to get the right one?
Yeah, so when you're doing something every day, I would get better at it, but yeah, it would take a good hour or 2, I would say, to make a set of needles for a week or 2. I would make 20 or 30 at a time. And then after this, I'm not going to show you, the cleaning. You have to put it in an ultrasonic.
Oh my goodness.
Give it a good clean, and then the autoclave to cook it, to make sure all the bacteria and all that kind of stuff, some Alkanex. So there's some other things we're not going to show you here, but yeah, it takes a good bit. I'm grateful for the cartridges, to say the least. All right, so let's try this again here.
Little Tesla over here. I love it.
I'll tell you, hopefully it looks like fun, but I've always had fun doing this, so it was very easy for me, when you're doing something you love.
It looks
very,
very
fun.
Yeah.
So we got it. So the key to this, like I said, there was another jig I'd use to just group them together loosely, and I would just kind of hit them at the top clip, and then I'd put them in this jig here, because it's very hard to get. So I don't know how closely you can see, but solder now is filled essentially, it's a metal glue, right? Taking those 2 pins together, yeah? But the solder will just run down the pin. So you need enough space, right? Because those 2 pins, I need enough space where the ink is gonna deposit, if that makes sense. So can you see that? Those little tiny spaces right there? It's probably easier to see what I'm talking about.
You definitely can see it.
Oh, can you see it?
Yeah, you saw it right.
So there's a difference between my needle and a commercial. I don't know what size this is. Oh, this is a 5 round. So okay, this is pretty darn big. Yeah, no one's using this in the SMP. No. But at least you can see. So cool. So now we have our tip, this is the tip that's on the cartridge, right?
Of course.
Back in the day, it wasn't that easy. What we had to do was take a needle bar and put this pin onto the needle bar. So what I do is dip that in the flux. Boom.
Now, why might somebody use a 2 needle as opposed to a 3-in-1? I mean, obviously you're getting that in-between impression, but can you elaborate a little bit more on the 2 needle?
Yeah, give me 1 second here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this. I don't know if you need to grab a different angle. I'm gonna put this pin on the needle bar. Whew. I've had so many times where that wouldn't go on straight. Oh yeah, it's pretty cocked, isn't it? So yeah, I could move it around and make it more flush, more straight. But you guys get the idea, you
Wow.
get the premise. So that's how we used to make our needles. And then, you know, you'd put it on the needle, the machine.
Yes.
Maybe that we'll save it for another day. I'm not gonna bust out a machine right now. But just like the needle cartridges, you know, it's just moving the needle up and down. But all the magic, like I said, you know, between the inks, which are tattoo inks in this industry, I hope if no one believes that in 2021, I'm so sorry. But, you know, there's the machines, and a machine's a machine. You know, it's like putting, if I wear Michael Jordan shoes or LeBron James shoes, it's not gonna make me them. You know, maybe they're comfortable shoes, right? They're great shoes, but they're not gonna make me better. Same thing with the tattoo machine. The needle is what's gonna give you the result of any artist out there. I don't care how skilled you are. I think I'm at the top of the heap as far as, I mean, I've been doing it. I'm an OG, but if I don't have the proper needle, I can't do my best work. It is what it is there. So that's the 2 needle. And to answer your question, why would I use a 2 needle instead of, without getting into like training mode? It's the size of the impression, essentially, right? You make a smaller impression with a single needle, make a little bit bigger impression size with a 2 needle, and then you make an even larger impression size with a 3 needle. So I would use that to make a more fine impression, the fine details.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a good answer.
Is that okay? Cool. So let's talk about you know, while we have this, let's keep talking that conversation a little bit, because that was you know, just kind of reliving the past. It's cool to see just proper insight into the industry. Again, so I learned this from a tattoo artist. Mm-hmm. My story goes, I was a bald guy. I was 24, and I was just reaching for a solution, and I Google searched. I made the decision I was going to get a tattoo of a world map on my head. I didn't care what it was, so I Google searched tattoo on the head.
I can't believe you admit that.
And I found this concept, and it wasn't called Scalp Micro-pigmentation back in 2009. It was, I don't know what they called it, but I had 2 options, to go to London or to go to Florida. And I chose to go to Florida, and I learned from a tattoo artist. And so I learned the hard way. I did 9 months of apprenticeship. I made needles, learned how to make needles, soldered different sets, bags of pigments, used to do all that kind of stuff. And for a long time, it was the UK versus the USA, I keep saying. And the UK represented the big fat 3 needle, and they used an E-Curie machine. They used, what's it called, the Nouveau Contour. And those machines are for permanent makeup only. Essentially, it's a hustle. It looked like a computer board, but they were locked to these big fat impressions, these big fat needles. And, you know, again, we were going back and forth, and they were making fun of us for using tattoo equipment and saying, you guys can't use tattoo equipment to do SMP. I don't know if they knew we were modifying our tattoo equipment and catering it to, you know, what would work best for SMP. Essentially, that's what's going on in the industry now, and I see a lot of it. And it's fun, it's exciting, but I also smile and laugh because I see a lot of people doing now what we were doing years ago. You know, it takes all. That's what's so fun about this industry. There's no reference book. We're all learning from each other, you know? So, cool. Nicole, anything else to offer?
No, that was so informative. I mean, I'm sitting here like, wait, I want to try it. People are going to want to try it.
Yeah, okay, cool. Cool.